Los Angeles me to me? I've always thought that L.A. is a place where dreams come true.
Los Angeles is like an amazing city.
It's not just a tourist destination for me, it's also home.
Hi, I'm Sophie Janinet, and you're listening to L.A Portraits. The guest of this episode is Thaís, and she's from Brazil. 7 years ago, she came for the first time in Los Angeles with a dream.
I'm an actress in LA who doesn't act. I feel like most of the actors here are like that.
I'm meeting Thaís in front of her apartment in West Hollywood, in a quiet street bordered with trees, which is very nice. On this typically sunny Californian afternoon, Thaís is taking me on a ride to a couple of different places in neighborhoods where she used to live, and we'll have a chat together about her relationship with the city of angels.
Hi!
Los Angeles is a huge city, but Thaís does not need a GPS. Heading north, we're crossing Sunset Boulevard to go to our first stop, the Hollywood Hills.
Okay, this is it. We're going up Laurel Canyon. If I were to live in the canyon in the middle of nature and it had a good like financial stability situation, yes, I would live in the canyon. You're gonna see there's a little like sign there. Jim Morrison lived and died here, right behind this place that they call the Store. A lot of rock stars met here back in the day to jam and do music. And he lived in a yellow house right here. That was just, this is Love Street. And he has a song about it. It's called Love Street.
To match the mood, we had to put the doors on. Not Love Street though, but Thaís' favorite song, Riders of the Storm.
I think this is the album 1967? 70? I don't know. Something like that. And I listened to a lot of Jim Morrison when I was living in the hills. It was crazy. Like, it was almost like you had to listen to the Doors to fully have the experience of the Laurel Canyon and Love Street. So we listened to the Doors a lot in that house. And yeah, and that's the store. And it's just it's like a convenience store. It's way overpriced. I never bought anything there except like sometimes I had the coffee from the coffee cart. It's a hot celebrity spot. You see every time, like, because celebrities, they live here. They live in the hills. So, and that's the only store. So I would be getting coffee. I saw like people next to me getting coffee also. I'm like, oh, I saw you on TV. There's a restaurant right underneath that is called Pace. And it's an Italian restaurant. Kind of overpriced also. A lot of celebrities go there. It's kind of like, it's hidden, you know. But the pasta is really good. The wine is really good. It's a really nice place.
From Love Street, we just have to drive a couple more minutes to get to the place where Thaís once briefly lived.
Yeah, we're not, just I want to show you the house. That's where I lived for 6 months. We're like Kirkwood. I used to come up here with my old car. That poor thing had a hard time coming up. Yes, they have the most beautiful like views from up there. Like, I just love the convenience of like, I want to go see a pretty view or like on a hike, and I am already in the hike. You know what I mean? I would just leave the house. It's my parents thought it was beautiful. They have like communal libraries. Like, when you go up, there's just a place with books that people can just grab. It's a community here, you know, like people have been living here like for years. A lot of old houses, you can tell like people that have been here for generations. It's just very far from all that Hollywood idea of like living.
From the hustle.
Yes.
People talk about the hustle.
Yeah, and it's just, there it is. That door right there. And then when you keep going up there, like beautiful hikes and views. Yeah. And you don't ever have to like, unless of course if you have to go to the store, like supermarket, that's not convenient. You always have to take your car out to do that. But other than that, why would you want to be on that bullshit?
This is magical.
Mm.
The curtain of leaves. It's magical.
So this is just one street. There's so many here. The mountains are huge. There's so many, like Los Feliz mountains also, they say it's beautiful. I haven't really like explored
but
like
like,
I just said.
living here is inaccessible, like money-wise. I
Yes.
mean, except for this opportunity
Oh,
you had,
yes.
which was super lucky.
Yes. No, yeah. That house there was 6,800 a month. So you can imagine how much the other girl was paying. I paid 1,000. Julie paid like 2,000 and something because she was like in the big room upstairs with the girl, and the girl had the master, so she paid like 3,000, 4,000. I don't know. It was ridiculous. No, yeah, it's not accessible. It's not accessible here, like money-wise.
On the other side of the hills, further north, is one of the first neighborhood where she lived in Los Angeles.
We are in NoHo Arts District, and
NoHo stands for North Hollywood.
North Hollywood, and this little bit of it is the Arts District. I lived here for 6 months.
Thaís is taking me to a coffee place that is quite special for her because of all the memories it brings back. She hasn't been here in a while.
You're gonna see the coffee place is exactly in front of the building that I used to live, and I lived there for a while I was in acting class, in acting school. So it was really far from my school. I had to take the subway here and bus when I got to Hollywood to get to class. It would take an hour and a half for me to get to class. And now the fun part starts of LA. Find parking. It's always fun.
The joke here is that the first question anyone will ask themselves every time they want to go anywhere in the city is, what is the parking situation gonna be? Sometimes options are so scarce or so expensive, it's a nightmare.
Oh, you're fine, because we're outdoors, so this is Republic of Pie. Yes. And right here, this is the entrance. There you go. And they have like really cute seating areas. They used to have more. I guess they changed. They have live music sometimes. They have like artists that just come in like with a guitar. A lot of people. Yes, that is a tree that says I am Groot. See, there are books there if you want to like read. Usually they had couches. I don't know what they did with it. They got rid of the couches. But yes, and they have the outdoor area. Spent a lot of time here when I lived there, because I was always here memorizing my lines, working on my characters, and I think that's why this place, I like it so much. It reminds me of it. It was probably the happiest time of my life here.
The happiest time of her life in LA. Because Thaís came all these years ago from the south of Brazil where she grew up to become an actress in Hollywood.
And I'm an actress living in LA who hasn't acted in 3 years. I'm an actress in LA who doesn't act. I feel like most of the actors here are like that. And I always had the Hollywood dream. I mean, who didn't? Who, like, if you want to be part of this industry, that's the basic. It's Hollywood, it's LA, it's the niche, it's the place to go. So I thought back then.
Back then goes back to quite a while now. Thaís knows she wants to act since she was a kid. She was not very comfortable at school in general. It wasn't her happy place. Until one day when she was 9 years old, she was playing the lion in The Wizard of Oz at her school. Unexpectedly, the elastic of her costume broke in front of all the other kids.
I remember the kids laughing hysterically because I made it a funny situation. I didn't let that like be a problem. I just made jokes about it. I was just like, oh, my pants. You know, like I just improvised the whole situation, and they were laughing and they were like so amused with me making them laugh. And I guess that's the moment I knew I wanted to entertain.
It's been a bumpy ride since that day. Although she comes from a very loving family, her dad really wanted her to follow a more traditional path. Acting class became leverage to get her to work harder at school, and he wanted her to put that aside to go to uni. And so she tried that all the way until graduating in PR. Then she went to Rio de Janeiro to pursue an MBA in entertainment management.
I go, I kid you not, I go to the first class in the school, like the MBA program. I sit on that chair for 30 minutes. I sat on that chair for 30 minutes. I get up, I leave the room, I go back to my place, I call my dad in tears. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this anymore.
The initial deal with her father was to forget about acting until graduation. So he kept his word and agreed to let her go to the best acting school in Rio. But Rio couldn't hold Thaís back for very long, as her dream was Hollywood. So 3 restless years later, she finally got on a plane heading to LAX.
It was exactly like Miley Cyrus' song. I hopped on a plane on LAX with a dream and a cardigan. I remember getting off the plane. First of all, just the feeling of surreal. I feel like it's very surreal because not a lot of people have this opportunity. Very little, right? People in the world have an opportunity like this. Trying to speak English for the first time in a land that's the only language they understand. You know, like, okay, you're on your own. You have to speak this whole second language that I knew, but let's face it, it's not the same once you get there. You're like, oh, fuck. Do I speak English? Maybe I don't. And my English was kind of bad back then. And compared to, I used to think it was good until I got here. Got into a cab, you know, with this very sexist driver saying a bunch of shit to me. Like, you're here by yourself? Oh my God, don't you have a husband? You know, and here I am like, I don't want to say anything. But that was my first interaction in LA. It was like this very misogynistic driver. He drops me off in front of the apartment that I'm supposed to live. Again, all of this, I remember exactly every little moment of it, but I just felt overwhelmed, and I was still just trying to survive. I was still just trying to make it, you know, like at the little beginning, like still like automatic mode, like, okay, you know, autopilot, like, this is what you have to do. You're gonna get to this house, you're gonna talk to the person you've been talking on Facebook that you're gonna rent a room from, you know. So trying to speak English, I remember getting there, and it was an apartment on Curson and Fountain Avenue, and it looks much nicer nowadays. It was not that nice when I got there, and very luckily, the first friend I ever had in LA, Danielle, it's an angel. So that's the person that opened the door and said, hi, welcome. And she's still one of my closest friends to this day. She's an angel in my life and has been ever since I got here. And it was probably, until this day, the happiest year of my life. It was definitely because I was not dealing with the grown-up responsibilities. Go to work, come back, have to study. You know, I was for the first time learning exactly what I've been dreaming about my entire life. In this city I've been dreaming about my entire life, with people from the industry that I've come to admire after I got to know them, like my teachers. It was all very surreal, and just to be part of all of that. I met all of my best friends that are my best friends today in this school. This school brought me so much joy and so much friendship. I'm even like, I don't consider it to be the best acting program for young actors out there because it's method acting. And I had to learn like the hard way that method acting is fucking intense.
Okay, so if you are like me and you're not familiar with the background/profesh lingo of Hollywood actors, that's where it gets a little technical. Hold on. Let's rewind back to the early time of long features' golden age. 3 famous personalities created acting schools: Stanford Meisner, Lee Strasberg, and Stella Adler. each of them created one unique program to teach people the art of acting. And the one that is still called method acting today is the one taught originally by Lee Strasberg, a famous actor. And that's the end of this Wikipedia parenthesis. Now back to Thaís.
Strasberg teaches method acting. That's basically when you hear actors talking about how they become the character themselves. That's very problematic in my opinion. It can, if you don't have a strong mind, it can be very problematic. It's basically relieving trauma and relieving feelings that you once had, because you have to know how to access those. So it's a lot of pain. It's a lot of pain, and I've seen people like completely crumble down in front of me and run and cry and scream because you're fully relieving something that was so painful to you, because you have to know how to access those emotions when you're acting. It was intense. I appreciate it. It made me a better actress for sure. I take a lot from the method. I don't consider myself to be a method actress per se, but I respect the method and who chooses to do that. It wasn't for me, even though I respect it, and I used it in my own way because I felt like I had the mental capability of not letting that destroy me personally. But not everybody has that.
Ultimately, the school year came to an end, and with it, the validity of Thaís' student visa. So she had no choice but to return to Brazil, where she knocked on the doors of many actors' agencies in Rio and Sao Paulo. But it didn't work out, so she went back to her parents' home. She quickly starts pacing around, turning in circles and growing frustration there, until she finally decides that she wants to head back to LA no matter what. So she just started working to save money, and as soon as she could, she bought a plane ticket to return. And she started a new life as a full-time nanny.
This country doesn't really give you a chance to migrate here.
Yeah.
They say the right way, but if you're not a genius, or if you're not someone that has a lot of money, what the fuck do you do? But I still want to come and try. And they're like, yeah, it's not our fucking problem.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So I had to do what I had to do.
Yeah.
So I came here on a tourist visa. Luckily, I was able to find someone that would hire me. And it was really hard at the beginning. I had nothing.
Did you manage to find a place easily?
Luckily, I had a lot of friends, right? So I had a friend who needed a roommate. So I stayed with this friend of mine, Joel, who I love. And we managed to find a third party, like a third person, to share this one bedroom apartment with. So I shared a room with this girl, and he slept in the living room in this really, really tiny apartment in Little Armenia. And that was my living situation for 8 months. I shared a room. I had a twin mattress on the floor, and this girl next to me, and my friend in the living room, and that was it. For 8 months, I did that, working as a nanny, until I had enough money for a deposit and to have a better living condition. That happened 8 months later. Yes.
This part of the story took place 4 years ago. Today, Thaís managed to get a job in the entertainment industry, almost like she dreamed. Almost.
I'm not a nanny anymore. I work in production. I'm a office PA, and PA is a production assistant. So I'm an assistant for the production team at a TV show. So that's what I do. I'm a PA. I wake up already not feeling happy, already dragging myself to either go take a shower or make my coffee. Sometimes I don't even want to do any of those things, and I just put my hair in a ponytail, and I'm like, who the fuck cares? I get in my car early on, so there's not a lot of traffic depending on the time. It takes me 15 minutes to get to work. It's not bad at all. So I get to work, I park my car, and I drag myself to the office. to do what I told myself I would never be doing, I sit behind a desk in front of a computer. Because that's what it can do to you, also living in LA. It makes you give up in a way. Not really give up, but give up.
Thaís jokingly sums up her job in 2 words: food and coffee. Her workday always starts with the same ritual. She has to choose a restaurant not far from the studio, send the menu to all the people in the office with a form to fill to pick their lunch. The people on set also have to order what they want, but at the in-house restaurant, because it is so hard to predict when they will eat, which won't be until the director says cut. So their quote-unquote lunch can sometimes be at 7 p.m. And Thaís, like everyone else in the production team, has to stay in the studio as long as people are on set.
Depends on schedules, depends on shooting days, depends if the director is going to be fast, depends if the director takes forever. A normal day, 10, 11 hours. A normal day, 10 to 11 hours. We do 12, 13, sometimes 14. I've done 15-hour days. It doesn't happen often when you're an office PA, but it happens.
How do you still stand like up?
You don't.
Like the 15 and
You get used to it. Me, I have it good because I'm in the office the whole time. I'm just like there to help in a crisis whenever there's one. Set PAs, it's kind of inhumane for set PAs, people that are on set. People sometimes do 16, 17 hours.
And they're standing, like on
Yeah.
their feet for 16, 17 hours.
Yeah,
Like
they barely
roughly.
have breaks. Yeah. Cameramans, everybody. It's not an ideal working situation if you want to work in this industry. I definitely don't want to do it anymore. So
When Thaís started this job, she quickly discovered that the majority of the studio's workforce falls into 3 categories. The actors want to be, the writers want to be, and the directors want to be. When I say the majority, apparently this is almost everyone, from the studio security guards to the assistants. Thaís reached a point where she finds it a tad depressing, probably because she's wondering if it's actually the way to get there.
I thought, oh, maybe doing something like this will open doors for me. And I already know it's not the path. If anything, it's getting on my way. Because going back to my daily routine, as soon as I leave my job, do I want to work out? No. Do I want to eat well? No. Do I want to get home and maybe apply for some acting agencies? No. Do I want to write? No. Do I want to study acting? No. Do I want to do anything but getting home, and we're in California, smoke a joint, and be a vegetable in front of my TV? Yes. Because I don't have the strength to do anything else.
The problem with this is not just that this job kinds of deprived Thaís from her energy to do what she loves. It's also that everyone knows that she hates it. When I say everyone, I mean everyone, like even Steve Carell.
So our sound stages were like up this hill, and sometimes when you don't have a golf cart, you have to go back and forth by foot. And I remember coming down, and I would pass his trailer a lot because it's on the way back to my office. And I remember like very loudly like doing like this sound and being like, I hate my fucking life. I was so tired that day. I'll never forget how tired I was. I was just like done with life. And I remember like very loudly like complaining about life and saying like, fuck man, I hate my life. I'm so fucking tired. The moment I'm saying this very loudly, Steve Carell is like going in his trailer, holding the door like this. And I'm like face to face with him when I'm like finishing complaining about life. And he stares at me. I stare at him for like 3 seconds, which is a long time if you think about it. And then I look down and I keep walking.
One evening, she also found herself face to face with Jamie Foxx. But she says it's almost common here. This is Los Angeles after all. It happens to everyone. I myself once had a short yet epic conversation with Toby from This Is Us about onomastics. It's a thing, you can Google it. But that's not the point. Back to Thaís, who is still dreaming of going back to auditioning for roles as often as possible. I say going back because she's been there already.
I had an agency before. I had an agency for a year. And they did a lot of commercial stuff for me, which, if you're a serious actor, it kind of kills your soul doing only commercials. I understand it was pandemic year, but I had 4 to 5 theatrical auditions. Theatrical auditions are the auditions you call when it's actual acting, when it's actual scripted. It's a script. It's it's not commercial. It's not a commercial. It's theatrical. It's based on a movie, a TV show, play. That's what it is. And I had per week, probably 4 or 5 commercial auditions with them, and it was driving me insane because I hated it. So that's why I dropped them, and I was just like, I need something theatrical. I can't be doing commercial auditions over and over and over. I hate it. I understand that's where the money is, but that's not what I want for myself. And anyway, I would love to do 3 auditions a week if that was an option. That's aiming high. That doesn't happen very often. It's probably you get once a week, once every 2 weeks, depending on the agency that you have. And that's fine. I just need somebody that is gonna lead the path for me to get those auditions, which is an agency, a manager. And I have to start looking for that again.
When I asked Thaís if she plans to stay in Los Angeles forever, her first answer is no. But nothing is set in stone. Maybe she will try her luck in New York. She hopes that people there are less superficial, less self-absorbed with fame and money, and more focused on the creative aspect of cinema. For now, she's not ready to give her Hollywood dream just yet, and she likes the beach and the sun and the hills, as you heard at the beginning of the podcast.
I love driving in the Hollywood Hills. It's so quiet, it's so peaceful. I love it. If there's a moment that I'm happy, is whenever I have to either go to the valley or something, and I have to go through Mulholland Drive or just see the view from there. And I do feel good in the hills. And you're playing some Jim Morrison and The Doors or something, and it's just you feel it, you feel the magic of this place.
And that's a wrap of this episode of Portrait of LA. You can share it, send it to your best buddy, your mom, your weird cousin, or your favorite coworker. For questions and comments, head to the LA Portraits Instagram account. Stay tuned, we'll be back.